everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah, and today we are doing a tattoo tour. This is a video I've wanted to film for such a long time, so I'm super excited to show you guys all my tattoos. I get tons of questions about my tattoos, where I got them, the artist, how much I paid for them, all sorts of questions. So I'm gonna sum all of that up for you today in one video. So I started getting tattooed in 2014, so it's been almost 10 years. I guess really it's been 8 years since I first started getting tattooed. But over the years, I've collected quite a few tattoos. I think I have 28 in total. And I'm going to tell you what they are, any sort of meaning behind them, the artist that did it, how much I paid for them, and anything else you want to know. And also at the end, I might tell you the cumulative total of what I've paid for my tattoos over the years, which is more than I'd like to admit, but it has been spread out over about 8 years, so it's not so bad. But without further ado, let's just get right into it. So I will be cutting in footage or photos of some of my tattoos that are hard to show you, like sitting right here, but some of them I can easily show you, and that includes my very first tattoo. So right here on my arm, like right below the crook of my elbow, is my very first tattoo. It is super faded. Probably in the camera it just looks like this black text, but there actually is a watercolor flower next to it. It was done in purple and white ink, so because it was so much white ink, it's super faded over time. But this was my very first tattoo. It's a violet flower, and then the black text is a line number from Hamlet. So this is a reference to Hamlet. It's the scene after Ophelia passes away, and when they bury her in the ground, they plant violets on her grave. I'm a real big Shakespeare nerd. You'll see that as a theme throughout my tattoos, but that was my very first tattoo back in 2014. I think I was 18, and that was done by Gilray at Patriots Tattoo in Fairfax, Virginia, and I paid $160 for that tattoo. All the prices that I'm gonna tell you are including tip, so it's like the total like tip, tax, everything that I paid all together. So that tattoo was $160. My second tattoo is on my rib cage. It is black text that says "Art is Food." And this is from a piece of writing by Bread and Puppet Glover. This is something that hung next to my theater director's desk for many, many years, and I spent a lot of time sitting next to him there at his desk, and I just really fell in love with this piece of artwork. So when I was 18, I got a tattoo from this. I have this now hanging in my home as well. And this was also done by Gilray at Patriots, and I paid $120, which I think $100 was the shop minimum. My third tattoo was on my upper leg, on my right leg. And this is another Shakespeare reference. It is Ophelia's flowers from Hamlet. So again, in Hamlet, there's a scene right before Ophelia dies where she is in the courtroom with a bunch of other characters, and she's handing out flowers to all the other characters, which are all symbolic of different things. So it's a bouquet of all of those flowers. And this tattoo has faded significantly since I first got it. When I first got it, it was like very dark, very black ink. And over the years, it's definitely faded out a lot. It's like very much gray wash, like light gray over the years. So all of the tattoos that I have here on my leg, I'm thinking of having kind of reworked or redone. The artist that I get tattooed a lot by now, who you'll see lots of his work later in this video, is named Mike Adams. So I've been thinking about having Mike go through all of those tattoos on my leg and kind of like just like brush them up a little bit, make them a little bit more modern into his style. So this tattoo may be reworked in the future, but for now it is super gray and faded. And this tattoo was done by Gilray, again at Patriots, and I paid $360. My fourth tattoo is on the back of my elbow. I think I can probably show it to you. It's right here on my elbow. It's a monarch butterfly. Well, actually, I think it's a swallowtail. I've gone back and forth about this with people. To me, it's just a butterfly. Like, it doesn't have any meaning. It's not any like particular specific butterfly, but I guess I always just say it's a monarch because that's the first thing I think of. And then people have said to me, oh, it's actually a swallowtail. And I'm like, okay, but it's a butterfly on the back of my elbow. I loved that tattoo when I got it. When I first got it, the placement I thought was so nice because it was like my only visible tattoo, and it was on the back of my arm, so it was still a little bit private, but there's no symbolism or meaning to that tattoo. It's literally just a butterfly. And that tattoo was done by, again, Gilray at Patriots. You'll notice the theme that Kat did a lot of my early tattoos, and I paid $180. Number 5 is this tattoo on my arm right here that says "Remember to React." This is a line from a Jenny Holzer piece. Jenny Holzer is one of my favorite artists as well. And that's another theme of my tattoos. I have a lot of tattoos that are references to my favorite artists or artworks. It's actually a dual piece. There's a second one that says, remember to overreact. So initially I was gonna get that as a friendship tattoo with my friend. She ended up never getting her side of it, so it's just my tattoo, but that is what that one comes from. And that again was done by Gilray, and I paid $120. My sixth tattoo was on my back, and this is my first tattoo that I had done that was not done by Kat. This was done by Sara Bell at Lucky 13 Tattoo in Richmond. It says, pouring forth much, which is a line from an inquiry concerning plants by Theophrastus, who was a Greek philosopher. We read his work at St. John's, and I just fell in love with his paper. So I had that line tattooed along with ginkgo leaves. The ginkgo tree is one of my favorite trees, and I think it really embodies that idea of something that is pouring forth much. Like, it's so beautiful when it changes colors into that golden yellow every fall. So I thought that those went well together, and the ginkgo is just a symbol that I think is beautiful. And I paid $240 for that tattoo. My next tattoo was right next to my Ophelia's flowers. I had a snake and a peony done. This is another Shakespeare reference. Initially, when I started tattooing my leg, I was thinking I was gonna do my whole leg in Shakespeare imagery, which I still might do. But the snake and peony comes from Macbeth. There's a line in Macbeth where Lady Macbeth says, look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. So there you go. And for that tattoo, of course, I went back to Kat at Patriot, and I paid $270. Up next, I got a tattoo. I can show you this one. Kind of. It's right here on my arm. This is a tattoo of Beatrice from Dante's Inferno. This was done by Walt Walterson at Lucky Bird in Annapolis, Maryland. This is a tattoo that I wanted for a really long time. As soon as I read the Inferno and the Divine Comedy, I was super into Dante. I have several different like St. John's related tattoos, but I read that book during school and fell in love with it, so I wanted a tattoo of Beatrice. And this image that I used is an image from Gustave Doré, who's another one of my favorite artists. He illustrated Paradise Lost, he illustrated the Divine Comedy. I think he also did some illustrations for the Bible. So he was one of my favorite artists as well, and I have a couple tattoos that are inspired by him. But this was the first one, Gustave Doré's Beatrice, and I paid $180. I think that one, I can't remember if 180 was the total, because I had a gift certificate for this tattoo. I won a gift certificate at like a raffle at this event. So I can't remember if 180 was what I paid after the gift certificate or if that was the total, but that's what I wrote down, so who knows. My next tattoo is one of my all-time favorites. It has definitely aged pretty poorly over the years, but this is Picasso's Head of a Woman, and it was again done by Gilray. I absolutely love this tattoo. It was my first like major visible tattoo. Like, even though I had other tattoos on my arms and stuff before this, it was my first tattoo that when you looked at me straight on, you would see that tattoo. It was like a very defining feature of me when I got that tattoo. I felt like it was a big part of my identity. Like, it just became like, you know, my portrait included that portrait. So to this day, one of my all-time favorite tattoos, and I paid $270. You can kind of see areas where it's like blown out over the years, or like it just, you know, my skin has changed. Like, this is part of having a tattoo. Like, skin ages and your body ages and your tattoos will change over time. So it doesn't really bother me that the line work has gotten a little bit, you know, not so crisp over the years, because I think that's just part of like having a human body, having human skin, and your tattoo aging over time. Up next, I did what would for now be my final tattoo on my Shakespeare leg, which is the nightingale and the lark from Romeo and Juliet. This is a scene in Romeo and Juliet. It's the scene after Romeo and Juliet spend their first night together, and Romeo's getting up to leave, and she's saying, no, it's the nightingale that you heard, not the lark. And there's this like beautiful poetry. So again, this tattoo was done by Gilray, and I paid $600. Up next, this is number 11. This is my only tattoo. I think it's my only tattoo that has been done in 2 sessions. And this is my portrait of Marina Abramovic. So this one is interesting because I like this tattoo. Like, I think it's well done. I think it's a well done portrait. I think it looks like what it's supposed to look like. Like, I have no fault of the artist or his skill. This was done by Chris Mead, by the way, at Oxblood Ink in Annapolis. I have no problem with the quality of the tattoo. However, I think it was a mistake on my part because the placement is kind of weird, which I chose. It's on the side of my leg, and I feel like it's just kind of in the middle of, like, I don't know what else to put around it now. Like, it's in the middle of my leg. I don't know what you put around a portrait except for other portraits. So I kind of just have this like awkward, like big, very dark tattoo on the side of my leg, and I don't really know what else to do with it. I've thought about having it reworked. I've thought about having it lasered. I've thought about having it covered. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, to be honest. We'll see, because I don't want any other portraits and I'm just not sure like what else goes next to a portrait. But this tattoo, over the 2 sessions combined, I paid $420. Next was my very first flash tattoo. This is my little bee and it's right here on the inside of my elbow. And this was done by Patrick Aikin at Red Octopus Tattoo in Annapolis. So this was a flash tattoo. I believe the shop was celebrating like their 5th birthday or something like that. So they were doing cheap flash tattoos. I think this is my cheapest tattoo of all time. In total, I paid $72 for it. And it's literally just like a fun, like random fun tattoo because they were doing an event. No meaning behind it whatsoever. My Lucky 13 tattoo, I didn't realize it was my 13th until I started doing this video, but it is my Klimt water serpents tattoo, and this is one of my all-time favorites. It's done by one of my all-time favorite artists, Mira Mariah, better known as Girl New York. I went to Brooklyn for this tattoo. I am obsessed with it. I loved it the day I got it, and I still love it now. So beautiful. I love the way she did the colors and like just the hints of color here and there. Mira's style is amazing. Like if you look at any of her work, you'll see this like very specific style of line work that she does. The whole tattoo is about 10 or so lines, so it's all like connected together. It's so beautiful. So I am obsessed with this tattoo. It's one of my all-time favorites. And altogether I paid $670. Next up is another Gustave Doré tattoo. This is Lucifer as the serpent in the Garden of Eden, and it's right here on the side of my arm. I don't know if you guys can see, it's a little hard to show, but I had this done right at I think at the beginning of my junior year of college. Maybe the end, no, it was the beginning of my senior year of college. And this was done by Kat Gilray again. I think this is my last tattoo by Kat. It's just an illustration from Paradise Lost. I'll pop up the original illustration here, but it's Lucifer as the serpent in the foreground, and then you can see Adam and Eve in the background in the Garden of Eden, and he's like going into the garden to tempt them. I just thought it was a cool image. There's really not more to it than that. I am not a Satanist. People have asked me that before, which is like, okay, yeah, it's just like a cool, you know, snake tattoo. And I paid $260 for that tattoo. Up next is this little Art Deco ornament that's on the back of my arm. This also was just for fun, no meaning to it. I was going to Montreal with my ex for a vacation, and I really wanted to get tattooed while in another country. So I found an artist and a really cool shop. This was done by Sarah Lang at Black Rose Tattoo in Montreal. So I just found a piece of her flash that I thought was really pretty and had it done, and that's really all there is to it. And this was done in Canada, so I can't remember what I paid in Canadian dollars, but in USD it was $105. Up next is another one of my favorite tattoos. This is the tattoo that I look at the most often just because it's like in my view most frequently, and it's this tattoo on the front of my wrist. This is the 3 Graces, again by Mira Mariah, Girl New York, and this is also a Gustave Doré illustration. This is from, I believe it's from Purgatorio from the Divine Comedy. So again, I'll pop up the example so you can see what the original art looked like. But this is one of my all-time favorite tattoos. Again, Mira totally knocked it out of the park as always, and I'm obsessed with this tattoo. I've actually had this tattoo copied. Someone that I know copied this tattoo. She got a very similar tattoo. She did ask me ahead of time if it was okay for her to get like a tattoo of the 3 Graces, and I was like, yeah, like that's totally fine. I don't own that image. Like it's a very classic, famous image. Go for it. And then I saw her tattoo and it was like a really, really similar version to mine. Like it looks like she just took a photo of my tattoo and tried to have it copied. So I don't love that, but what can you do? Once you put it on the internet, you never know what people are gonna do. They're gonna take it, do whatever they want with it, but that kind of bummed me out, but oh well. And I think this is my most expensive tattoo. I paid $780, which is crazy. Up next is my very first tattoo by Mike Adams. I think I got this tattoo the next day after my tattoo by Mira. This is my skull and leaf tattoo. So I had been following Mike on Instagram for a long time, and he had done several of these tattoos, like always a different combination of like a different skull and a different leaf, but I thought they were so beautiful and I really wanted one of my own. So I was able to sneak in and get an appointment with Mike. He is very hard to book with. I feel your pain if you're trying to book with Mike. He's an amazing artist and totally worth it, but he's very hard to book with. So once I made it in to see him for this tattoo, he and I kind of became friendly right away, and luckily I've been able to keep up a relationship with him and like usually get into his studio to get tattooed. But I got this done when he was still in his private studio, and I paid $230 for this tattoo. My tattoo number 18 is the Drowning Girl, and this is a tattoo that's very special to me. So this was done by Fidjit, doing a guest spot in New York City. She normally works out of, I believe, Scotland, but she travels all over the place. Like, she's always all over Europe, all over the US, traveling all the time. Like, that's her thing. So she has tattooed thousands of these drowning girls on people, and they all have, like, some of them are just like the classic girl's face, and then some of them have like different objects sitting on top of the head, which is really cute. So mine has a book on top of the head, and I got this as a commemoration of completing my senior thesis for college. So it's kind of my little depiction of like me drowning under the books, but still making it out. And this is a super special tattoo to me because it's really exciting to be part of what she calls the Drowning Girl Club. I just think it's really cool to have this like iconic tattoo that people have interpreted in so many different ways, and I've made it my own, and it's on a lot of other people. It's just a really cool, special thing. Up next is my grapes tattoo. So I think I can show you guys this one. Where is it? Oh yeah, it's right here. I have this little tattoo of a grape bunch, and this was done by Aaron Harmon. So Aaron used to kind of like guest at Mike's studio before he had his new space. So now they both together have this shop called the Masquerade Studio in Frederick, Maryland. But for a while, Mike just had a private studio. So this was back in the private studio days. I paid $120 for this tattoo. I believe it was a flash day tattoo, so it was like $100 plus tip. And that was the first time I met Aaron. He's a super cool guy, really funny, really nice person. If you ever have the chance to get tattooed by him, he's so nice. So highly recommend both of them. Such great guys. They're like the primary two people that I go to now. So I will always recommend their work 100%. And after that, on the same day actually, I got a tattoo by Mike, which is Copper the dog. I will try to show it to you. I don't know the best way to do this. So this is Mike's dog Copper, and there's this funny story behind this tattoo. So like I said earlier, Mike and Aaron were having a flash day. So I was Aaron's first appointment of the day when I got my grapes tattooed. And then it was also my birthday weekend. So I like went out during the day, did my whole birthday thing. Like, we had lunch, we walked around, we did antiquing, you know, whatever. And then my appointment with Mike was in the afternoon. So I came back to the studio in the afternoon, and Aaron was completed all of his clients for the day. So he was just kind of hanging out, and Mike was still working on his previous client. So Aaron and I were just chatting, and I was like, oh, you know, I'm not sure what I want. I was looking at the flash sheet, and I was like, I kind of like this dog, but I don't know, like, I'm on the fence. And Aaron was like, okay, I'm not gonna tell you why, but you should get the dog. And I was like, okay. So Mike finishes up his client, he comes out, and he's like, hey Sarah, what do you want to do? And I said, I think I want to do the dog. And he was like, sick, it's free. And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, this is my dog. I put my dog on the flash sheet. Nobody has been getting this dog tattooed all day. Like, nobody picked this tattoo all day. So I really want to do it, and I'm going to do it for you for free. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. So I ended up with this tattoo of Mike's dog. Mike's dog Copper is often in the studio with him, so now every time I go get tattooed, I get to see him, which is so fun. But yeah, sometimes people see that tattoo and they're like, oh my God, do you have a dog? Do you have a pointer? And I'm like, no, it's my tattoo artist dog. And it's like this whole long story. But that is the story behind that tattoo. And that tattoo was free. I just paid for the tip, and I also bought a painting from Mike. Up next is my Johnnie chair tattoo. I think I can show you this one. It's a little bit hard to show, but it's right here. I got this tattoo to commemorate graduating college. Anyone who knows St. John's knows the famous Johnnie chairs. The Johnnie chairs are in every classroom, in the dining hall, in all the dorm rooms, like everywhere you go on campus where there is a chair, it's a Johnnie chair. It's the same exact chair. It looks like this. It's by EA Clore, is the company that makes them. They make two versions, one with arms and one without. Personally, the arms version is the best version. I think the dining hall chairs are the only ones that don't have arms, but any Johnnie knows the Johnnie chair. It is a iconic classic symbol of St. John's. And so when I was graduating, I knew I wanted a little something to commemorate my time at St. John's. So of course the Johnnie chair was perfect. And that tattoo was done by Mike Adams in his private studio, and I paid $130. Up next, I have a tattoo of a little black leaf. This is another just like totally random, like no meaning behind it. It's just a flash tattoo. This was done again by Sarah Lang at Black Rose Tattoo in Montreal. And again, I was traveling in Montreal Montreal. I wanted to get a tattoo while on vacation, and this is what it ended up being. Super small, super quick, and I paid $65 for this tattoo. So I think maybe this is my cheapest tattoo. Up next, we're getting close to the end here, I promise. This was my tattoo that I got right before COVID hit. I got this tattoo at the very beginning of March 2020, and it is my rose elbow ditch gap filler. So this was done again by Mike Adams. I love this tattoo. It's one of my favorites. It's so well done. He like hand drew it so it fits the space perfectly. And it's just a gap filler. It's just like a beautiful little thing to fill a space. I had this big gap in my ditch in my elbow and I was like, I want this to be covered. And so that's what we did. And I paid $300 for that tattoo. So after my gap filler, I didn't get tattooed for a really long time because of COVID. Everything was closed, no appointments were going on. I didn't want to travel. So I did not get tattooed for a really long time. But finally in June of 2021, so like a year and 3 months later, which I think is the longest break I've taken between tattoos since I started, I got this little tattoo on the side of my wrist. And this is the only one that's like so hard to take a photo of because it wraps all the way around, but it's basically a rose, a dagger, and some ferns. And this tattoo is loosely related to the scene in Macbeth where Macbeth sees the dagger and he says, "Is this the dagger that I see before me? The handle towards my hand." There's a whole scene there. That was the inspiration of this tattoo. So I just kind of wanted like a gap filler to fill the side of my wrist. And I thought that that was a cool image. I thought like the length of it would fill it up nicely. And then Aaron, you know, filled it out to fit in around everything else. So this tattoo was done by Aaron Harmon at the Masquerade Studio, and I paid $205. Up next is probably my #1 favorite tattoo. You can't see it very well in this dress, but I'll show you my collar tattoo. I have wanted a tattoo like this for many, many years. The first time I ever saw this was actually on Mira, Girl New York. She has a tattoo kind of similar to this. And when I first saw it, I fell in love with it. I knew I wanted something similar, not the same, but similar for myself. Hers is much more like open lines, like it's more similar to kind of her style of that like one continuous line. This is definitely much more like Mike Adams style. It's like the darker black with the stippling. So I knew that I wanted something like this, and I'm so happy to have it. I love seeing it every day. Like I think that the way that my Picasso tattoo used to be like the very defining tattoo of me when you look at me, now it's definitely the wreath, because if you look at my face, you're looking at the wreath, and I love it. I think it just like frames my body so well, and I feel beautiful with it. I don't know how else to describe it, but I love it. And altogether I paid $650 for that tattoo. My next tattoo I got somewhat recently. I got this done around my birthday earlier this year, which was in February, and it is this little cherub angel. This was a flash tattoo from Mike Adams, and he pointed out when he was placing it for me, we were just trying to find a spot where it would like fit perfectly. He pointed out it kind of looks like it's coming down to land on the chair, which is so cute. So he's just a little cherub. He was just a flash tattoo for Valentine's Day. And that was done by Mike Adams at the Masquerade Studio for $200. The same day as the cherub, I got this little tattoo on my shoulder of a swan with a rose in its mouth. This again was done by Aaron Harmon at the Masquerade Studio. Swans are one of Aaron's kind of go-to images. He has a lot of images that are like, he does really frequently, like motif images that are really beautiful. And I actually have a painting that he did for me a few years ago of a swan with a rose in its mouth. So I asked him if he could make something similar for me for a tattoo, and he did. So here we are. And I paid $150 for this tattoo. And also on that trip, I got 3 tattoos on that trip, which was I think the most I've gotten at once. But I got this leopard tattoo, and this tattoo is in memory of my dad. I shouldn't say in memory of, he's not dead, but it's like a matching tattoo, I guess, with my dad. My dad has that very classic, like older man, American traditional black panther with the curly tail tattoo with like its claws out and its head is turned to the side. He got that tattoo done when he was 17. He's now in his 60s, so he's had it for a very long time. And I always admired it growing up. It's my dad's only tattoo. He's the only person in my family that's tattooed. I always thought it was cool, especially when I started getting my own tattoos. So I really wanted something to commemorate my dad, and I thought it would be fun to do sort of like a matching tattoo with him, except I wanted it to be a leopard instead of the Black Panther. So I think that's really special. It ended up filling a gap as well because it ended up being kind of the perfect shape for the spot where it is. And to be honest, I don't know if my dad is thrilled that I got a tattoo to match with him. He's like neither of my parents are really into me being tattooed at all, but maybe deep down in his heart, he thinks it's sweet. I don't know. It's sentimental in my way. I don't know if he feels the same, but that tattoo is for my dad. I do want to get a tattoo for my mom, although I'm not going to say what it is because she will probably watch this video and I don't want her to know. So hi, Mom. And I paid $365 for the leopard tattoo, by the way. And lastly, my most recent tattoo I got done at the beginning of July of this year, so very recently. And this is done by Jessie Fora at True Hand Society in Philadelphia. So my very first Philadelphia tattoo. And this is an idea that I had had for a long time, but kind of was waiting to find the right artist to do it because I think that for script tattoos and text tattoos, you really want to work with the right person. So I had this done by Jessie. She does amazing hand lettering. She's amazing with text tattoos. If you're looking for a text tattoo anywhere around Philly, highly, highly recommend her. She's so nice. The studio is so beautiful. It's in this old like converted church, so it has these like big beautiful stained glass windows and like super high ceilings, amazing acoustics. Like the shop is gorgeous. This is another Shakespeare reference. It's also from Romeo and Juliet. These violent delights have violent ends. And yeah, there's really no more meaning to it than that. I just really like Shakespeare. I wanted a text tattoo. I thought putting it on the front of my ankles was like a cool placement, and that's about it. And that tattoo was $350. And that's it. Those are all my tattoos as of right now. I will definitely be getting more. I have plenty of space left. I want to tattoo my other arm, my other leg. I want to tattoo the rest of my back, probably my stomach. I don't know if I'm gonna tattoo my chest. Maybe. I probably will never tattoo like the front of my throat, but I do want to tattoo my hands, probably the tops of my feet. Like I want to get a lot of tattoos, so I will continue on eventually. Maybe in a few years I'll make another updated video. But those are all of my tattoos. There are 28 of them altogether, and if you've been keeping track, in total I have spent $7,842 getting tattooed, which is kind of crazy, but like I said, it's been spread out over about 8 years. So what is that, like around $1,000 a year? Which honestly isn't terrible for this to be kind of like my hobby. Like $1,000 a year on your hobby is not that bad. But thank you guys so much for watching. Leave me any questions you have in the comment section down below. I'm thinking about doing a follow-up video as a Q&A about anything you guys want to know about my tattoos or advice for getting tattooed. So if you have any questions, leave them down below and I will answer them in another video. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.